you're fake it, then you're cool.
The top is like this, I don't know if it's a monkey or a goblin, and he's holding his penis, and on the top of his head there's a spoon, because the guy used to use drugs.
Yeah.
He's got like rhinestones and stuff, and relief carvings of syringes and dice and broham from a car, the word broham from that model car, and just things of just like street life.
Yeah, his the path he took.
Yeah, and it's a really nice job he did at carving it. And I made the mistake of telling this guy about it on the train. I didn't show it to him, but I described it. Mm-hmm. And he just got all into wanting to know who made it. Well, do you know what prison they were in, around what time? He wanted to do the math of when I was a kid, when I got the cane from my grandfather, trying to pinpoint the era or what prison this guy may have been from. It's like, dude, I was just fascinated not knowing that stuff.
Yeah,
it's almost something from the unknown versus I'm on MySpace with the guy.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I don't know him.
Yeah.
Never met him.
Keeping the mystery alive is kind of
grandfather about all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there.
Yeah, it's just there.
Yeah.
What I love about that is the way other people's minds work, because for people who are related to someone with that experience, it's fascinating to them, and they're trying to find ways to understand it.
Right.
So they go, well, what prison was it? Maybe something in the prison inspired him. Or what year was it? Maybe that year was a fucked up year for everybody. But I just love learning how people comprehend different amounts of information so it makes sense to them. But sometimes it could be annoying or intrusive or... But we all live and learn.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Ideally.
Actual sitting way. Put this out there. I don't have an endorsement with this, but this is my favorite drink. Didn't send me no check.
He sent me no check.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Soon, yeah. Well, let's see if we can get them for. We'll send some emails.
Yes.
It's in the painting.
Yeah.
This is so lovely.
Have we started already?
Yeah, I've started
okay.
recording.
I love that. Like, why not organically just start out?
Yeah.
All right, good. Should I have been holding my glass in my hand this time?
We
with
could,
a straw so I don't have to move too much?
Oh, you can move as much as you want.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
I'm mostly in the main pose.
Makes no difference.
Okay, I think I got it.
Nobody has taken a pose on a single episode.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
We all just are naturally being ourselves. I happen to be trying to make a painting.
Gotcha.
I'm actually learning the art of being still again.
Yeah.
Because I was always very still and composed for so long, and through like my life experience, I had to learn how to be more expansive and expressive, regardless of what's happening to me. And I've only recently have found a way to come back to being more of this. And that's why this happened, because I was just being a blaze, the best kind of blaze, like doing everything. The sun is out. I'm doing so much. And then my body's like, well, you have to slow down because winter is coming. You need to rest and sit still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had an injury recently too. That was awful. Lower back. It was pretty difficult to do anything. That was like,
It really makes you sit and think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any experiences?
Oh yeah, I was just telling him about last time I saw him. I've been a fairly healthy person all my life, and I had this strange cough last year at the end of the summer. I thought it was a passing thing, and it gradually got worse to the point where I couldn't bike, I couldn't get up a flight of stairs, my breathing was short. I felt a sharp pain on one side, and I don't smoke anything, and so I was getting tested for COVID weekly, sometimes several times within a week for different jobs. So I knew it wasn't that. And finally, I ended up going to the clinic, and they asked me all the questions, you vaccinated, you got COVID, you got AIDS, you smoke, you do drugs, blah, blah, blah. And all of that was okay. So they checked me out, they looked at each other, they said, would you excuse us for a second? They left the room. They came back with an oxygen tank and put the tubes around my nose. Like, yeah, your breathing is at 60%, and we need you to go to ER like right now. So I went to the hospital and went through the whole interrogation again, and they kept me, and turned out I had pneumonia in my left lung. So whatever this was, the people around me weren't catching it. So all the more reason I thought it would be a passing thing. You know, it kind of narrowed it down from the basic what ifs. So yeah.
Wow.
To be a person who never spent time in the hospital to spending 2 weeks in there in bed, that was a culture shock.
Wow, that must have been a life-changing experience.
A little bit.
How'd you come out of it?
Just be patient, you know. I figured it'll pass quick.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, they'll take care of the situation. They were very baffled as well, given that I don't participate in anything that would normally put me in that predicament. And I think the first day I was there, I think it was Halloween or so, and they said, "Oh, we're just gonna go in, try to get some of that fluid out." And I was like, "Oh, go in, huh? So does that mean you like cut my chest wide open? Does it go down your throat?"
Right.
They said, "No, we just go between the ribs." So I'm thinking now, something little microscopic, little pin or something they going in, like a little tiny straw. And they roll up this tray with these tools that look like they're gonna build a bike or do a tune-up on a car.
Ooh, you're like, my bike isn't in here.
They put me to sleep, right. So they just numb the area and just start digging and prying away. And I can feel this.
What? Come on.
No,
This is
really.
crazy.
They had these tubes, they stuck in 2 tubes between the ribs, about as thick as your finger.
Oh, which one?
Yes, 2
It's
tubes.
Unbelievable.
And yeah, he flushed it out. It came all out of my nose and mouth, just running down the face of the bed. And so they were done. It was a quick thing. And a little while later, it's like, wow, I feel wet in the bed. I pulled the sheet back. I'm like laying a little puddle of blood. One of the arteries was open, so they had to go in and do this procedure again. This whole fiasco. So they did another procedure a few days later, and I think that was 3. And lastly was where they put you under and just really go in and do the carving. So yeah, I woke up with all these stitches. They didn't tell me they were putting the catheter in. So she was like, "Now did you wait? We'll take the tube out your mouth," and you know, you had all that down your throat, oxygen and whatnot. And she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna take the catheter out." And I looked down and I said, "Oh, I didn't know that was going in, so I don't know what to anticipate feeling it come out." She went to just reach for it, to just pull it out. Like, "Oh well, let me get my mind around this one." You know. So when they took it out, it didn't hurt at all. It just shocked me that it didn't hurt. You anticipate so much pain there. It's like somebody snatching a rubber glove off your hand.
Oh,
Which is not painful.
No,
but if
it's
you
like,
never
what?
felt that before, you expect some strange pain. It wasn't. So yeah, I dropped like 30 pounds while I was there, and yeah, when people saw me when I first got out, I looked like death. You know, just like you see it, your face is sunk in, your body's all thin. But I gained back pretty quick, you know, bounced back, luckily.
How long did it take to get back to yourself?
Well, I'm still getting there. I'm about 80-90%.
Yeah.
But I went right back to work. And I was all bandaged up, looking like
Like a mummy?
Frankenstein project.
Well, that kind of works in for the benefit of the artists, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not as important as,
Some
as
people, they
it
drew
working
all
for
that
you.
bandage and stitches. You know, they drew so much blood. They probably wanted to like study it or keep it, because it's like I've never had COVID. I
Yeah.
haven't been vaccinated, so I guess maybe I'm one of the people who just slipped through the crack with that. And even being around people in close proximity who had it and still never
Same.
had it.
I haven't had it.
And people would just freak out. "You haven't gotten the jab? Aren't you scared? Haven't you got your 20th booster shot?" I just didn't.
Right.
I'm not anti-vax, but this one, my intuition told me, no, don't do that. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
anything else I would have been on board with,
Right.
but not this one.
Yeah, and that's what I love about, these podcasts, and what I like to do is learn about other people. Okay, oh, you're one of the, yeah, this is a decision that you make, and or that you've made throughout your life, and this is just part of your perspective. Interesting. Cool.
Mhm.
And then you move on. Yeah. Not like, oh, why? But you should do this. You should do that. Like, no, that doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I've gotten vaccinated, and there were points during the past couple of years where I'm like, fuck it, I'll just go somewhere and just get it, just to get over with. And I haven't gotten it yet. Like, oh wow, I can go dancing in these crowds and not get it. I guess we'll see.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Time goes on.
Yeah.
And if I get it, oh shit, I guess I got it.
I hadn't had it until just recently, a couple weeks ago. That was the first time, and I can't believe I avoided it somehow. I was intentionally trying to get it from people who were around me who had it. I was specifically intentionally trying to expose myself, so I'd be like, I want this to go through my system, and I just don't want to think about it.
Right.
Mhm.
Or like your body builds the immunity to it already. Like,
Right.
everyone, I feel like people who,
It took a long time.
I'm going to assume based on your demeanor and how you speak and how you carry yourself that you are, you have like this self-awareness of how to take care of your body, and because of that, you don't really get sick a lot.
Right.
I'm the same. Like, I get sick maybe once a year, around actually this time of year, like when the seasons change, and that's kind of it. And it's always been that way, and it's because I take care of myself.
Mhm.
And I don't eat shit all the time. I eat a little bit of things that are good for me, or you listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Or you, I think having a lot of self-awareness when it comes to how you look, and it's more just like how your body looks, not so much like your clothes, but you get to see if you're doing well or not. Like, if I have big bags under my eyes, it's because I'm doing something wrong and I'm not getting enough sleep, so let me figure that out first. I think a lot of people don't have the time to check themselves, to feel what they need, and they rely on a quick fix to treat the symptoms and not the actual ailment.
Right.
Gosh.
I've been into herbs and the routine visit to the health food store since my early 20s, and just kind of had a basic knowledge of a lot of that stuff. So
Same.
that kind of give you a head start on being old and somewhat healthy as you get older.
Yeah. I really, like, one of my life goals is to show people that getting older and aging is this amazing process that is not something to feel bad about or feel shame or like worshiping your youth. Because I think people's mindsets around aging is so wrapped up in their 20s, and after you're done being 20, it's time to get old. Where it's like, I've known so many people in their like 70s who still get down, and they don't worry about themselves being old. Like, life is long as fuck. Why are you worried about being old?
Oh yeah.
People's mindsets, like, well, you're gonna get old, but are you gonna do something to make sure you're preserving it, or are you just gonna go, well, I guess I'm old, I'm gonna sit down and not do anything anymore?
Yeah, it's all in your mind.
Yes.
Because when you're young, like a kid into your teens, 25 is considered old. You view them as old people. If you're a teenage guy and you're dating a woman in her 20s, you're considered dating a vet, a cougar or something. But then when you get old enough to start looking at a 25-year-old as being too young for you, that's when you have seen some totally different perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's all in your mind. Age is really all in your mind.
Yes, and unfortunately, some people never get that perspective, and they only date 25-year-olds. It's like, bro.
I mean, yeah, I guess there's a fetish for some people. They just stay in that little ballpark of their mindset, which I'm not knocking that. But when you find yourself saying, oh, that's too young for me, or you're around certain crowds of people and you can't tell the teenagers from the people in their 20s because you're so much older than they are.
Yeah.
They all look the same now.
That's true.
They all look
That's a
off
good way to
limits
put
now.
that.
It's like, oh, you're a baby, you know?
Get away from me, baby.
I'm doing the math of our age difference now. It ain't looking right. So, no.
Because there's a fine line and a lot of nuance with all of this stuff. And unfortunately, some people aren't quite there yet. It's all a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
So how do you get around that? What do you do? What do you do if you? Okay. Specifically, in entering committed sort of relationships with someone who is in that age group when you're older that's unusual and rife with difficulty. I'm sure. I guess I haven't tried that much of a gap, but
I've always had pretty major age gaps.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm only speaking for myself and my experiences.
Uh-huh.
It does take men just a little bit longer to mature in the way women do, and it's not like a bad thing. Like maturity is different for everyone. It's non-linear, and it's just because of the experiences of girls and women, and the people around your age are still being coddled perhaps by their parents or whoever coddles boys in the way society does. When someone's a little bit older and you're young, you're like, well, at least I can have a fucking conversation with someone who's older than me about things that I like. Like I've always had older friends, and my music taste is very much of like 20 years older than me because my siblings are much older.
Oh, that's good.
So I grew up very mature in my tastes, and I'm speaking for myself. I've always like older men, but only the ones who treated me like they go, oh, this bitch knows some stuff. Mm-hmm. Not like, oh, she's young and pretty. It's like, no, she's a little young, but she knows more than I do. Mm-hmm. And those are always like great friendships first, and they've always ended well, because I think because women do mature differently, they can see that I was maturing in a way that didn't align with who they are, because our lives were so different. Mm-hmm. I also really like people who are nothing like me. Yeah. Or like, not nothing like me, but come from a different walk of life than me, but lots of things parallel. We have so much in common, but our origins are so different. Mm. And I think if you're going to get involved with someone younger, it has to be based on intellect and not how fucking hot they are. Because come on, everyone's fucking hot their whole lives.
That is such a trap.
Yeah, there's some truth to that in most cases.
But it's a fun thing to explore and I've only recently have been viewed as older than I actually am, or older than what people think I am. And I feel like this past year I am finally outwardly maturing, because people do mistake me for being much younger than I am, and I've always hated it. But now I'm understanding what it means, because I get to, like, a lot of my friends now are younger, and I'm seeing them as, oh, you're me when I was your age, and I'm the older person you were friends with. And having that perspective is so great, because that means whether or not I want it, I have an influence over these young people. And because I see myself in them, I'm just treating them like I would have treated myself at their age. With friendships, and I also think, any sort of romantic thing too. Like, you just treat them like humans and treat them the way you would have liked the world around you to treat you when you were young and you knew more than people around you. That makes sense. I love going on these little rants.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's helpful when you are younger and you have people who are both your age and older people who are somewhat mentors, or maybe they just doing something so backwards. That's your role model in a sense. You learn what not to do.
Yeah.
Some people, if you can pay attention to what to do as well as what not to do, you're good. Mm-hmm.
Everyone's a teacher.
Everyone's a teacher. Yeah.
Since I was little, where I grew up, there was tons of people around me all the time, and I just picked up on people's behavioral patterns and stuff that they would do, and I noticed right away whether or not a person was, in my childlike mind, was a happy person or a sad person. And the happy people I wanted to be more around, because they were doing stuff like reading books and drawing, or showing a certain type of kindness the sad people or angry people weren't doing. And the environment I came from was very chaotic and fiery and lots of chaos. But I was able to find the people around who were the opposite of that, and those were my teachers on what to be. And all the chaos was like, well, even though you're from here, don't do what those people are doing, which is nothing. Sitting back and letting the world happen to them instead of becoming the chaos themselves.
Yeah.
I just love chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to know, let's line it up. Just put it in order. Make up your own order.
Agitation gets the dirt out.
Oh, yeah. This injury I have, actually, I know part of it's physical, part of it is psychosomatic, and I learned through knowing myself that there's ways that I could alleviate it by doing something that no painkiller in the world can do. And funny enough, it's singing really loud and speaking my feelings, because I've always bottled up all my words and wasn't good at expressing myself until somewhat recently. And the more I speak about what I'm going through, or if no one's around, I just sing my ass off. I feel so much better. I was barely able to walk yesterday. I was really hobbling, and right before I come in here, I just sang for 5 hours, and I feel a lot better.
That's really great.
Well, it sounds like it's along the lines of when people are chanting or something. It's like it's vibrating the chakras to get things aligned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was totally misaligned. My foot keeps doing this, because I was just, long story short, and I love that I get to speak about this to someone who I think understands. When you're doing the right thing for the wrong people, your body tells you, if you aren't able to see it at first. And it comes in the form of bodily pain or your body being misaligned. And what's unfortunate is this language, people don't want to believe it because it sounds like a hippie or it sounds like new age shit. But no, that's how your brain works. Your mind is everything. How do you think placebos work? If you placebo yourself, or just find a way to, how do you say, contextualize your life. If you're able to go, and it's something I do, okay, I'm having this challenging thing. I'm going to see this challenging thing like it's a dragon, and I'm the knight having to find a way to fight this fucking dragon. Whatever that looks like in the actual world, be it singing or telling someone to go fuck themselves, it's something. But as long as you have a way of seeing it that you can make sense of, because what I see completely different from what you see. This blue light reminds me of something, and I'm sure it reminds you of completely something else, but it's still the blue light. Or some people will see that as a negative or a positive. And that's what's just so important about communicating and understanding other people's perspectives. And, when someone's angry at you, instead of being angry back at them, just go, oh man, someone fucked this person up and now they're angry at me for something I didn't even do. I guess I just gotta get the fuck away from them so my foot can feel better. And it's just so funny. That's how a lot of our discomforts and bodily pain comes from, is just us not dealing with something that's happening to us because maybe we can't see it yet, or the way our world is structured is perhaps designed for us to not see these things. So we have to rely on outside influences to alleviate a pain that we can alleviate by just singing or saying fuck you to somebody.
Yeah, I guess so. It makes perfect sense.
Thank you. I recently had this epiphany about that. It's been so great since getting my cane.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a piece of wood, right?
Yeah.
Piece of nature.
Mm-hmm.
So
awesome.
And I need it. We all do.
It's like a famous jazz musician, Sun Ra, told one of his band members that there was this tree across the street from where they lived, and pretty soon lightning is going to strike it and knock it down, and when it does, cut the rest of it down and make a drum out of it. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, lightning struck the tree and they made a drum out of it.
That's pretty awesome.
So if you're not listening to somebody who is really in tune that way, you'll just miss it.
Yes. Well, you're saying everything, even the shirt you pulled out, I'm like, oh, there it is. I feel like we're all on this a very similar wavelength. Because I've been
That's
thinking
awesome.
about that. I mean, this whole place feels like, oh, I was meant to be here. It was for me or for us. So I get lost in my thoughts sometimes. It's like
You're good.
going back to the puzzle piece I just dropped.
I think you were happy, if I recall.
Well, when I get happy, I just go, ah! Happiness is everything. We said cutting down the tree to make a drum. Lightning's gonna strike.
Yeah, Sun Ra was a character, kind of like Frank Zappa. He's one of the people. The interviews can overshadow the music because these people, they want another plane mentally. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't this fake, eccentric thing. That was just how they were.
He just reminded me what I was gonna say. When you have like this inner wisdom, and when you have the inner wisdom, it's just something all humans have. Because it's like, how come all geese know where to fly? We all do that. Like humans have that too, and it's just, I feel like it's this untapped source of knowledge that, with who knows how it fucking started, that's been taken away from us because we're not part of.
Well, you're
the
born
world.
with a certain amount of it, and then you're kind of miseducated and kind of strayed away from that.
Yeah.
And you're taught to just go by what you've been taught versus what would make sense
And what do you feel?
right off the top of your head. Yeah.
People don't give enough credit to feelings and emotions and intuition and following your gut and what your body is telling you. Like if your body, if you know yourself and your body goes, hey, that, your knee hurts because there's some fucked up shit going on, but you keep accessing the fucked up shit, so I'm going to make it hurt more. And once you go, oh, this is some fucked up shit, and I know now because my knee hurts, time to get out. And it's fueled by beyond just self-preservation, but like self-love and self-acceptance. When you know who you are, no one else can buy you. No one can tell you what to do and make you do something because they're lording over you. And it's very common for people to do this sort of thing. And when I speak about it, I'm more just like bringing it up than just going, these are bad people. Because some people don't even know they're doing it to you because someone did it to them and it's all they know.
They call them spiritual vampires.
Yes.
They come around, you look at the flowers, they just start to wither.
Oh, yeah.
And they spring back to life when that energy is not around anymore.
I always give
How are
people
those
the
ones
grace of
doing?
that. I love
They look
them.
pretty good. They look
They're
healthy.
so juicy
Yeah, those are nice. They just opened. They're pretty good.
and shiny.
Looking forward to those next ones too.
I love it against the wood here. You have a lot of like warm orange browns and like cool greens, grays, little pop of red. I'm obsessed with color.
Yeah.
I used to be strictly black and white in everything I make, and shit just happened. I go, oh, I see colors now, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear that. My entire color palette changed for painting.
Yeah?
It was so classical and just black, white, yellow, red. I will be as good as Rembrandt one day. And then now I'm just like, I kind of like color. I kind of like the insanity
Yeah.
of painting color that's not there.
Yes.
I like that feeling. I like the, I'm going to exaggerate this thing because it's an expression of this scene rather than sort of dutiful servant of like the natural world. You know,
Ooh, I love
I think I prefer the kind of distorted weirdness. I think that's a little bit more human in its psychology to me.
Yeah.
And that's how I started approaching painting, and it totally changed. I'm sure there are a million reasons for that, but yeah, I absolutely love it.
That's amazing.
Well, when you're doing something creative, especially dealing with colors or frequencies, you don't want to reflect back 5 or 10 years and say, wow, I'm doing it exactly the way I was then. It's like, there's a difference between consistency and not growing.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
You are touching on everything I've been talking about lately. It's kind of, it's amazing. It's like magical.
Oh, good.
I'm obsessed with patterns, like, because our minds are built for pattern recognition. It's how we survive. But I feel like it also means more than we give ourselves credit for when you understand, like, and this is where some people's eyes begin to roll. Mm-hmm. But when you keep track of like the lunar cycles and the weather and seasonal shit, you really understand the way it has an effect on our personalities and our actions.
Yeah.
And in a way, you can almost predict. I mean, not like in details, but like you can predict. Oh, something's about to happen. I don't know why I know, and then at some point in your life, and this is me speaking from my experience, I can look back at my past and go, oh, that version of this thing is happening now, but because I changed as a person, I get to do the next version of it. Like, or people, people say the next level. But when you see people who don't learn a lesson and are stuck in repetition, and there's nothing you can do or say to pull them out of it, you just have to lead by example. It's such a unique way of having to navigate the world and trying to find people like you. Look at you. But it's so great. And like last year when I quit my job to be an artist full time again, because I've done it several times, it felt different, and it felt like I was ready for it this time, because I tried so much throughout my life to escape, the bullshit world, the trap they always set us up to step in. I'm aware there's a trap, and it's going, well, while I'm in the trap, I need to make some money and then figure out how to be an artist this time. And each time I didn't know enough, I would just get back in the trap to make money, but knowing that it's a trap, and then getting myself out and going, I'm gonna try to be an artist this time. Like, oh, not ready yet. But I think this time, last year when I quit, it was, okay, now you're ready. But the trap evolves with you, and it looks like different things. Wow. But there is stuff that aren't traps that evolve with you. Like, let's say you meet someone, you meet someone who goes, hey, by the way, this trap sucks. But you meet other people who are aware of this cycle. Right. And when you know all this shit and you see people who don't know it yet, don't you want to try to be like, hey friend, I care about you. But
I can mention it, but I don't want to be that person just lumping somebody over the head.
Oh, no.
If they ask, I can explain it.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
If they look like they're not ready to be told about that, and I've been in that stage, might be in that stage, where it's not time for it to totally process. I can't take credit for this, but somebody older told me that things happen for a reason, a season, or for life, and that applies to jobs, relationships, where you live, a phase you're dealing with, and people get caught up thinking, oh, okay, this is like this forever, either in a good way or bad way, and it's just for that period of time, or it's for a reason. The reason may not be revealed at that time. It may be revealed later, or it may not be revealed at all. Yeah. It's just for you to deal with that, because you're still connected to other people, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. You may not see how they affect you or you affect them. You might just be two people who passed on the street, or you might be two people who work together or live together or has some interaction. Yeah, and people tend to misunderstand what that purpose was.
Yeah. And they keep meeting the same person who resembles that until they learn. And get to the next part.
Right.
And what's so interesting about that process, because there are some people who you think are ready to know, for lack of a better phrase, like, oh, I see, like, they're on this path that I remember in some ways. And what I like to do is, how do you say, like, I'll say certain things or do certain things just to see reactions, if they are ready to hear stuff. Because you can see when people are thirsty for knowledge, and if they just have this one thing, it will help them. And it's usually discipline. It's usually you have to find a discipline or several disciplines in order to get to the next thing, because a lot of it is just and I'm just thinking about this off the cuff right now, like undisciplined childish behavior that was never channeled into something. And like it's like you throw a tantrum over getting something, not getting something, but then they give it to you and tantrum's done. If you keep throwing tantrums, you're going to get it. But at some point, you grow up, and if the tantrum doesn't give you the results you want, so you get mad, or you double down on the thing that's giving you a tantrum instead of going, oh, I'm an adult, I shouldn't throw tantrums. A lot of people don't get to that point.
No.
And these days are getting much easier to spot. And it's saving me a lot of grief from having to be like, hey, I love everybody, but I cannot, you're an adult throwing a tantrum. I cannot do that to myself trying to hug you.
Yeah. But love everybody is one thing. To like everybody
It's
is to get
another.
it.
Yeah, that's
It's not even designed for that. Loving is to like no matter what.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
This feels so good.
Yeah, I'm in a great mood. You guys rule.
When it's raining, we had a full moon last night. It feels so amazing. You have a great voice. Actually, you both have very pleasant voices.
That's good to hear.
Oh, thanks.
I love voices. I like all the things about human beings that make them humans.
Yeah?
So, yeah, I have a weird way sometimes of just wanting to observe. And because I've become so much more expressive recently, I'm still trying to find my reins and not try to speak to all the things I love, because I can get a little carried away and just won't shut up. So I'm still working on my filter. Like, okay, you don't have to tell everyone they're beautiful, Jetty. Just the people who will stop and listen. Because sometimes I'll just stop people, like, I'm sorry, but I think you're the most beautiful thing ever. And it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, especially when somebody just randomly come up and say something like that.
Yeah. I do it for reasons. I do it because I'm being compelled to, and I think you understand what being compelled to do something means. Like, oh, this person... And sometimes I do... it's so easy for me to talk to anyone because I can just pick up on these little things. Like when you're very observant, and being observant was part of your way of living and surviving, like hypervigilance. Instead of succumbing to it and just seeing all the bad things. Like, I see the bad things, but I see the good things too. And maybe this person I'm going to tell how beautiful they are will, maybe they're going through a thing, and me saying that helps them. And it does often. And it's, I'd rather do that than call someone a cunt. Because I do that too, but only when they need.
Special occasions.
Yeah.
Whew.
When all the other words don't hit the mark.
Yeah.
Cunt will stop your brakes.
Yes.
Cunt will ruin your day.
Yes.
It's so powerful.
That's why it shouldn't be used all the time.
Exactly.
Right.
That's like a once in a blue moon.
Sparingly, yeah.
I learned
Last
that.
resort.
One of the good
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you did something. You need to. I learned
Yes.
saying
There's
see you
some
next
people
Tuesday.
I have not called that.
That's more
They
fun.
may have noticed I haven't called them that because I'm saving it on a special occasion. It's gift wrap.
Oh!
Yes.
Don't you love saving it?
Yes.
And when
It's
you
like
give it,
semen retention. Saving it.
when
But
you
it's-
give it to them,
Yes.
it'll blow their mind.
Yes. Way
And-
back.
And they have an option. They can either continue to be a cunt or go, oh, I'm a cunt? I better start working on it.
Right,
Moment
yeah.
of reflection.
I mean, hopefully.
Come on. And that's the
Yeah.
grace we offer these people. Like, come on. Look at us. This takes grace.
Yeah. Some people, they've slipped through the cracks of certain parts of their life where it's like sports. It's good to be good at your sport, but part of being good at that sport is when the coach tell you, sit down. You're not in this place, sit down. That's part of the discipline,
Yeah.
like the rest of the game. And they may not like being the bench warmer at that moment, but for that moment they need to just reflect,
Yeah.
take a break,
Mhm.
watch the game, and see what they can contribute to when they're back
Yes.
in the playing field. But if they miss that, then they'll be useless in the game and on the bench.
Mm-hmm. And to add more to that, because I love the analogy of like, you get on the bench, because I recently discovered how much of a mother I've been to a lot of people, and I love being a mother, but I want my children to love me, not take advantage of me, which is what some people do. And after you're on the bench, and at some point, like, don't you want to learn why you're on the bench, or like, let's add a little bit more nuance to when someone's like, hey, sit down, and I'll tell you why later because you need to cool off, or I need to cool off. Like, I like giving people the grace in the room to feel their feelings, even if it's shitty feelings, but then sitting down and going, all right, why did I do that shitty thing? Or why do I feel like a shitty thing? Because if you don't give yourself that grace, how do you know what it looks like when someone gives it to you? And you don't, and you start attacking people who are trying to help you because you don't know what grace looks like. And God, people not giving themselves grace explains so much of what I've been witnessing when it comes to just how people treat each other and treat themselves. And I'm going to assume, like, I'm not sure yet because you're like, you have this, I'll punch you in the face if I have to, but I won't. Like, people coming to you with their woes or looking up to you as a source of the answers.
Sometimes, and sometimes after the fact.
Yes.
Sometimes there's oh, that's what you meant when you told me that a long time ago,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
I've done it too, I admit it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Part of getting to
it.
that point where you can absorb enough of it to share it. So, yeah.
So I feel like you can't tell someone something that you haven't experienced because it's empty.
And it's not a arrogance thing. It's not flaunting.
No.
That is because you're telling somebody, in some cases, you tell them so they don't mess up as bad as you did.
I did it so you don't have to. It's bad.
Yeah.
I fucked up a little more so you can fuck up just a little less.
Yeah, I've been further down that terrible rabbit hole, and I'm letting you know now what it's like later if you keep that up.
But I go, have fun.
Have fun. You can trust me now or trust me later.
Mm-hmm. What I had to start telling people is like, do not start. I hate hearing this. Jetty, you were right. Jettila, you were right. I'm like, I know. I'm sorry to say that. I know, but about what this time?
I've never heard that in my life.
Well, I've only heard it as like everyone's mom. As everyone's mom. Like, a lot of people don't appreciate what their mom is until she's not around. And they start learning all the shit that she would be telling them. Mm-hmm. And they go, oh, mom used to say that. Dad used to say that. Oh, I wish they were alive for me to tell them. Like, no. But I've always heard the, oh, Jetty, you were right. Because I was always this neutral party in people's problems. And I would just go, oh, it sounds like you just need that. Because if everyone tells you your problems and you don't really talk, you just kind of figure out their patterns. Mm. And it goes, oh, last time you had this problem, this thing you did didn't work. When I had this problem, I did this and this worked. Here's some insight. Take it or leave it. Have fun. But if you're going to fuck up, don't come up to me later apologizing, saying you were right. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And when I say I know, it's more of like, instead of telling me you were right, just say, hey, I understand the thing you're telling me now. Because what people don't like that I do is I just mirror back what they give to me. Like, when no one's around, I'm in my own world. But when I'm around other people, I just show them what they're showing me. And if they show me some shitty shit, I'm going to show them what it looks like back at them. And that's when conflicts arise. But I'm able to, like, give them more context so they go, oh, I was just being a dumb bitch. Like, yeah. And because I used to be a dumb bitch. Now I'm just dumb.
yeah, still, yeah. That resonates deeply with me. I identify as a dumb bitch.
I'm the bitch.
Yeah.
Depending on what day of the week.
Well, I mean, I think to some degree, we're all dumb on some level, some moment. It's just a matter of, can you recognize it ever and acknowledge it to yourself?
Yeah. And don't you want to be dumb about something new?
Sure. I don't want to be dumb about the same old thing over and over.
I know people who, and you no fault of their own, just as how the world is, especially when you come from poverty, where they keep you stuck because there's no way of, there's no one to talk to about your feelings, because having feelings is a weakness, or you don't have time to have feelings because you have to go to your other job, or you're too tired, so you just sleep and eat garbage. But people being this, sorry, I get all stuck in my words.
I hear you.
Thank you, I'm not gonna pick it up. But people, there's like this time in a lot of our lives where we stop using our imaginations and stop problem solving. Like all the stuff you do as a child where your brain is still developing. And I think people think your brain stops developing in certain ways at a certain age. Like, I'm such a late bloomer. When you went to middle school, there was no more recess. I was so angry because recess was like, I get to hang out by myself on the swings. It's dope. And they changed everything. And they took you away from all the imaginative stuff you did. Like, oh, time to learn fractions. Time to talk about puberty, but that's it for one day and not follow up. Like, they don't challenge your mind that's still developing. And because of that, I think that's where a lot of people get stuck in communicating, where a lot of people continue to throw tantrums and not learn how to navigate what even means to have a tantrum. Because kids aren't allowed to be kids until, what, 12 or something? Like, no, we're still learning shit. Like, you're still supposed to be a novice.
Not allowed to be kids until they're 12. What do you mean?
Well, more like puberty. Like, oh, she has her period. She can't have fun and play with dolls anymore. She has to become a woman.
Oh, I see.
Or like, oh, his voice is getting deep. He shouldn't play with toys anymore. Now he's a man. He should play football. Where like, and a lot of my friends who are really good artists, especially the young boys, I can tell they still have that creativity, but they have to kind of fight for it through all the dumb shit that's put onto them. Like, oh, you're a giant? Maybe you should play football. Where your brain gets smashed up instead of being a beautiful poet or making paintings. Like, oh, your body is changing? How about do this dumb thing that's destructive instead of nurturing the brain that's still developing? You want to smash it? And that's why a lot of people do a lot of dumb shit, because they were prevented from expanding. And, those are the ones who tend to turn into people who hurt others by accident. And you have to give them so much fucking grace, but then realize, I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. Go talk to your parents about, but it's not that easy. There's all these fucking obstacles to get through to find yourself, because like we're being ripped away from ourselves, and for what? An iPhone? I mean, I still use mine, but damn.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how so much has changed in society and personalities since the internet and social media and like the addiction to all of that. I just recently watched Social Dilemma, which was pretty dead on explaining that. Social Dilemma?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know that
it's something. Okay. But it's about how it's purposely designed to keep people just always tagging along, addicted to
catching up.
The newest thing, some algorithm that keeps up with what you show a pattern of interest in.
And the constant stimulation, but from one source.
I'll look that up.
It's cool. There's another one on Hulu called something Matrix. It's not Enter the Matrix, but it's something Matrix. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll give you a link.
Exit the Matrix.
Something Matrix. Or maybe the word Matrix isn't in it, but it's basically about the same thing, but they go to the next level of how it of just affects your daily lives. Or like everyone talking about we're in a simulation. Like, yeah, the simulation is capitalism, and the real world is trees and shit. Like, of course you're in a simulation. We're not meant to do this. We're not meant to, well, this part's great, but we're not meant to live month to month or week to week. Like, whenever I'm fully on what I call like my own shit, when I'm fully in tune to myself, I can't sleep for like 4 days or 3 days because my body is purely doing what I want. And I'm not like, I do kind of lose weight because I just go nuts and I dance and sing and ride my bike everywhere. But not everyone has a 24-hour day cycle or a month cycle when it comes to like the tasks we have to do, especially when you free yourself and you are your own thing. Like, you're not beholden to anybody. you really see this weird pattern they make you do that doesn't fit. And instead of listening to everyone going, hey, we're in pain, or all these new disorders are coming up, like, oh gee, I wonder what's causing all these new disorders. Maybe it's because our bodies can't adapt to all the bullshit you're making us do that we're not supposed to. Like, we don't have a sense of community. I mean, we do in some ways, but not like it used to be. Like, we used to not have things called, and this is going to sound, there's so much nuance to this, I hope people understand what I mean. We used to not have depression because if you were sad about something, you would talk to your family or the community or like your elders, or if someone was grieving, they never grieved alone. And now people grieve alone, or they can't handle it, so they do drugs, or they try to find an escape instead of what we all truly need as human beings, and not just not just, oh, it's so hard to fucking say this, as human beings, as the creatures that we are, and what makes us different from anything else on this planet. And it's not that we need community, because animals have community. It's community with like thoughtfulness and self-awareness and being sentient all comes together. And because we don't have that, people like us have to show people what it fucking looks like. Like, I'm gonna show people what it looks like, and it's bringing my fucking stick to hobble around instead of a cane I get at CVS. Because a cane at CVS isn't gonna give me the same energy as the crooked stick to symbolize my crooked leg. You know, like, we need to be taken away from all this fake stuff that doesn't have meaning or like a spirit to it. And that could be fucking anything, like this bowl of peanuts, damn. I hope that all makes sense.
Yeah, there are no peanuts in that bowl.
Peanuts and
Those
grapes.
are good nuts. They're quality nuts in that bowl.
God, like, I'm so adamant about people.
You guys can eat that stuff. That's
And
not
I was
just for
looking at the
Still Life.
grapes.
Yeah, I set them there for
Thank
every
you.
episode.
Oh, okay.
What do you feel like?
Not the same bowl, but
Oh.
That would be great
I
if it
cycle
was.
out the nuts, yeah.
Well, it's like the comedian, he said he was talking to his grandmother, and he was sitting there eating all the peanuts, and then he didn't realize it, and then she's like, oh, don't worry, I already ate the chocolate off of them.
Oh, yes.
See, that's my
Did these have
my
chocolate?
secret. Mm-mm.
No, chocolate.
I have chocolate if you'd like it. It's on the
Good.
counter out there.
Okay.
Okay, in our break, we'll get some chocolate.
Yep, that's what
Chocolate break.
I shouldn't have left it on the counter. I should have put it in the refrigerator.
No, it's the perfect temperature.
All right.
What do you guys think about, people's imaginations not being utilized?
Well, imagination is fed to people now.
Right. It's someone else's imagination is
Well,
given to them.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that. I don't know. How do I feel about people not using their imaginations?
Or do you feel like people aren't in touch with their own imagination like it, I guess, used to
I guess
be,
they
or
don't
it
need
ought to be?
Yeah, they don't need to be. They're fed the imagination. You said that's a good way to put that. And I think video games are better for the imagination than watching a TV series is.
Absolutely.
So that's not utterly useless or harmful. But yeah, the imagination, the dream box that is a television. So what else would our brain read that as?
Right. Oh, dream
And
box.
the Oculus is like I was recently talking about this, our brain would recognize that as what? As a dream? As like a release of DMT in our brain or something? How does it see that? How would it know that as anything else? And we're just blindly going into this, like, this will end fine. We're like,
Dream box.
everyone's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
This is fine. Just keep pretending that what you're doing is normal for your biology.
Right.
Just keep pretending.
People dying from just sitting down too long, like, fuck. We're not meant to do that.
Mhm.
We have to move.
Yeah.
It was like the old comic drawing of, in the old days, it used to be skinny people watching big TVs. Now it's big people watching skinny TVs. The remote control. So that's become a universal thing.
Oh yeah.
Everything is to be controlled remotely.
Remote control.
Remote control,
Oh,
TV
yeah.
programming. It has some other meanings to that sometimes.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are some accurate terms.
And I do feel like TV has changed so much. This is coming from, when I was younger, we didn't have cable or anything. Like our cable was PBS and like the one Japanese channel we got. But I remember there was more of an effort for teaching and the arts. Like PBS was all like the arts. And I feel like it's harder to find that on TV. Luckily you can find that like on YouTube or online, but you have to really dig for it, which I don't mind digging for something profound. But if someone doesn't know that is out there, how do they know what to look for? You know? And that's the one thing I do worry about as generations go on. And I always have this awareness that the younger generation is always in the now. And the now is so important because it's always the same thing. And it's just community, love each other, be human. And when people don't have that, that's when they get really passionate and they go, well, how come we don't have this? We must do it. And that's why the cycle keeps happening. But I think it does start with imagination and access to it. But imagination with action. Because we can all just sit there and think. Like, I feel like a lot of people's overactive imagination goes with, and because there's no creativity or action behind it, it just turns to anxiety, and it turns to all the self-deprecation. And there's a fine line with all of those, because we're supposed to have anxiety, and it keeps us alive. It's stress. We're supposed to have little bits of that stuff, but if your mind is just working on that,
When that's the norm at all
that's the
times.
norm.
Oh, it's very unpleasant when that is the case.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy walking down the sidewalk for that reason.
No.
I'm in a constant state of like hyper awareness of danger at all times.
Same,
It's like,
hypervigilance.
why in the hell is this happening? I'm just walking past a stranger. Maybe they look at my face.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why am I stressed?
Yeah.
But you know what's worse is when you get so used to that and that's your norm, when you go out to the boonies where there's none of that, where people don't even lock their doors and you have to wrap your brain around it. You're thinking they forgot. And they don't forget. They don't do it. They think that it's not a necessity where they are.
Right.
But feeling that decompression can be just as overwhelming because there are no sirens, there's no background noise in the street, there's no vibe of just people there.
Yeah.
It's just dead quiet, like you're out in a cornfield.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, a car will go past. You don't really see people walking past because everything is so far. You have to drive. So it's always oddly quiet.
We all live in the city, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm actually up the street from you, but maybe it's just me. I don't know. My house is quiet as fuck.
Yeah.
And I hear all the birds. I'm on the top floor.
That's lucky.
I think also just where it's at, like it's facing away from, and I'm right across the street from Humboldt Park.
Cool.
I think it's also, I play a lot of music, and I sing it. I think I just radiate my environment, perhaps. My place is very peaceful. My neighbor complains about all the noise. Like, what noise is she hearing? Because I don't hear it. And I think maybe it's because I've found this, or I've constructed this inner peace among the chaos. I learned to organize it. And that's some next level shit. Like that's something, what I have that I've built for myself, I can only wish on everybody, especially, I don't have any enemies, but if I were to have enemies, I would wish the peace I have on them. Because, I mean, what else are you going to do with your life? Are you not seeking peace? God.
Who wants that?
Fuck.
Sounds cheap.
I remember years ago.
Peace is fucking cheap. It costs nothing.
That's what the problem is. What was it? Peace sells, but who's buying? The old Megadeth album. That was the name of it.
Fuck yeah.
We had a blackout in the area, and it was just complete silence. It was at night, and it lasted maybe some hours, but nothing was on. I had the windows open, and you can hear. Everything was just dark outside except for the moonlight. I don't even think we had street lights, but it was a silence going on that was deafening, you know, and it sounded like you were just in a void. Like if you stick your fingers in your ears or you wear earplugs, you can still hear certain things, but it was almost like it made you wonder if there's some like frequency that's constantly playing subliminally throughout the areas you're in, and even that was off.
You know what I feel like that is? I think it's just the constant flow of electricity, because we ourselves are electricity, like it's what's powering us, I guess you can say. Because I love blackouts, because I'm really sensitive to everything, and when there's no lights, like I'll black out, I'm like, oh, this feels good, because it's that crackle, you know, the silent crackle in the air. I'm just assuming it's electricity. I hope it's not some devious shit.
No, I think it just made me wonder. You know, I guess maybe that's when the imagination kicks in.
Yeah, I love wondering. I love to wonder. Wonder and wonder. And when you meet someone, you're like, huh, I ponder about you, but I don't be pondering about anyone. Because so many people.
Wander, and ponder.
Yes! The Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
I think there are some people out there, well, I don't think, I feel, that I don't wonder about at all, because they show me everything. And what they show me is what they saw on TV or what they saw on the internet, which is fine, but I already seen it, so I'm not going to wonder about you. But if I see someone like, I've never seen that before, I never heard anyone speak the way you do, and actually you are someone who's quite wondrous, like, huh, I'm intrigued. It's not very often I'm intrigued by people, and I'm not saying anyone's bad, but I like to see new shit. I like to be stimulated by another human being who is themselves and has I think a self-awareness is what it is. Like when you know the space you occupy and how you occupy the space and space occupies you. Just people have an awareness, like it falls off of them. But if someone's just...
I guess that's when people can only be comfortable when they're in something. That certain pair of shoes, a certain outfit, that certain car, it's like a material validation.
Yeah.
Then they're comfortable. But to be stripped of all of that and feel comfortable, or more so comfortable, that's different.
I know what's so funny about the material aspect of that. Like, we all have material, you know, our expression, like our clothes, socks. What I began doing, I was really hiding. Like, this is my skeleton. I decided to dress how I most comfortably feel. But I was keeping it from people because it was mine. And I was performing my version of a human for people because that's more palatable. Or it had to be. Because whenever I was this, it felt like I was othered more or seen as a thing instead of a person. So I had to hide the thing and display a person, and none of it worked. Like, no matter what, I was damned if I do, damned if I don't. But now I'm like, well, I'm just damned, so I may as well just be myself and be this bog witch or this fucking wet raccoon in the rain or the rat that's eating the food you left outside because he's resourceful. Like, that's me, bitch, fuck. That's why I can't be beholden to anyone or anything, because when you're a person who's constantly evolving and learning the cycle and learning the lesson, people can't grab onto you because you're like, I've seen it before. Why would I want to do that again? If I want to see something, like, I will only do that for seasons. Like, oh, here comes spring. I've seen these flowers before. I can't wait to see them again. Not, here's this bitch. I know what you're going to do to me because you did it before. And that I think, and people try to do that, and if they try to pull one over on you, or they perform change, where they don't actually, like, yeah, you can wear a different pair of pants or buy a new shirt. You're still the same bitch I met. Like, I can tell because you didn't learn your lesson. And you can tell when someone learns their lesson by how they speak about themselves, how they speak about others, how they walk. And people don't know that they are giving themselves away constantly. Like, yeah, you can hide behind all that shit, but I still see a kid who wasn't hugged enough, or someone who was bullied or was a bully. Like, you can't cover it up. It falls off of you. You leave a trail like a fucking snail. Like, come on.
Yeah, they haven't been hurt by enlightenment yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And that shit hurts. Look at this. But it's so great. That's what makes life spicy and worth living. Come on, I could die tomorrow and be like, man, I died a dope bitch. Hit by a car. Fucking hanging out with squirrels and rats in my backyard.
There you go.
Somebody recently told me they eat bush rats.
Bush rats?
Yeah, they're from somewhere else. And I was telling them, being from here, especially Chicago, there was a time we had a problem with something called super rats. So anytime you mention anything about rat, that's the first thing we will probably think of.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have signs in the alleys of beware the super rats. And these things look like pregnant cats. They were big.
Wow.
I mean, if you got one in your house and it bit the baby.
When was that?
That baby's gonna turn
This
into a
was like
rat.
in the 80s. Like,
Damn.
yeah, it was a big deal.
Dude, what I love so much about rats is they're so intelligent and can adapt to anything. So I'm like, if you see a rat outside, that means it's not in anyone's house, so it's a good sign. You fucked up their house, or you personally, but we fucked up their house, so if you see one outside, it's me saying hi and just know the rats is inside your house.
But rodents and pets, if they go in your house, they send somebody in there first to check things out. To scout. If it don't come back, it's like, okay, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Ants do it. Rats do it. Yeah.
Pigeons do it.
Oh, they do?
Oh, you
Well,
know pigeons do. And one sometimes you're like, this place is too clean. I cannot. They will find me immediately. I must leave. Or they go, this place is gross. My family will love it. And then they move their family in.
Mm.
And then you have rats and mice in your house. Oof. He's not taking care of your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, and it's all, what I love about all this too is when stuff like that happens, like the literal stuff happens, it's nice to think about the figurative aspect of what that means as well. If your house is full of mice or rats, do you think maybe you may have some blind spots that you should be fixing up so that it doesn't happen? Like, how are they getting in?
Yeah.
You have to create this awareness of your space.
What's in there that's attracting them to stay?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And if the traps don't work, the food traps, it's
Fish.
because they have food.
That's what it is.
It's fish.
It's the flies come from the fish.
Mm-hmm.
If you cook fish for dinner, you should definitely throw the bag out like that night. Throw it out immediately.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's like an instant fly
Oh, yeah.
catcher.
And we know what flies like.
They're like
Yeah.
like fish, and they like shit.
They love
Yeah.
shit. They love dirty, dead things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They like it when your house is filthy.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah, they are. They're teachers. Those flies. Those.
Everything's a teacher. And I do love, I like using like analogies and symbolism as a way to ease a person's pain of going, hey, you're fucking up. Look, there's rats everywhere. Get some shit right. Not come over once you get rid of the rats.
Mm.
Or I'll never come back because your house is full of rats. I don't fuck with indoor rats unless
No,
it's a
dude.
pet.
No, dude.
They belong outside. Gosh. And what I love, like when I say this stuff to the right people, they laugh and they go, oh, that makes sense. When you say it to the wrong people, they get mad at you and they attack you. And it's like, oh, are you telling me you have rats in your house?
Mm.
Or rats up here? You know?
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
And when you are not at that, I'm learning to be okay with this term, like at that level, because you don't know what it looks like and it's confusing to you and it's new and you feel embarrassed. What do kids do when they don't know something? They get mad, they throw tantrums, and they cry. Fuck you, Mom. All right. You still got rats in your house.
It's like hit dogs holler.
Exactly. Whoever smelt it, Delta. Okay, that's not it. Hit dog will always holler, right? Come on. I love making general statements like that that cover anybody because those who are going through some shit always out themselves to me. I like having these little sort of tests of who I should give my energy to because I can't give it to everyone. And I'll say stuff like that just to be like, You got some rats or don't? Okay, you don't? Cool. Let's talk about something else. Now that I know the kind of person, are beginning to understand the person that you are. Because certain people won't understand what that means. So I go, okay, I have to bring myself down. Let's talk about the Avenger movie. Or let's talk about the latest dumb shit people are saying is trending. Which I don't, because I don't pay attention to it. But yeah, I need to gauge where people are at so I can meet them there. Because I love talking about stuff that someone else loves to talk about because they're passionate. And I would just keep asking them questions. So next time I see them, I'll be like, hey, how's that thing you love talking about so much? And it's hard to find people who do that because people just love clout and 40 Avenger movies. So that is my favorite reference. There's so many of them. It's ridiculous. Make a new movie.
I missed the boat with that stuff.
Good.
Did you?
Yeah.
The boat sank.
I'm not knocking it. I just missed the boat with it.
It was fun though. Like,
I like the
The
stuff that
Titanic
makes me
thing.
feel like a teenage boy.
of course.
I find that comic book stuff does.
Mm.
It is pure trash. It is flaming hot Cheetos. It is nothing. It's nothing.
Right.
But that's, sometimes you want flaming hot Cheetos. It's
Exactly.
okay.
Or you want the new flavor of Flaming Hot Cheetos.
Mm-hmm.
It's still Flaming Hot Cheetos, but
Well,
it's
that
lime
sounds
now.
like moderation, so
Oh,
it's
yeah?
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, yeah. You're not binging that stuff like every single day, otherwise you're gonna serious
Yes.
problem. You get rats in your super
The rat
superhero
just came
rats.
in.
Super rats, Avenger rats.
Avenger Rat's a symbol. All the stuff I say, like I said earlier, this is just through my experience. Like I've looked at a bunch of dumb shit, and at some point I go, oh, it doesn't hit anymore like it used to.
Yeah,
I don't need
it's-
another version of it. I
change.
need a new thing. So when I can look back on who I was, I can remember that thing fondly as part of the person I was, and not this thing that I keep bringing with me.
Mhm.
And I feel like, and it isn't like I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just pointing out my observations. When you can't wait to see the next Star Wars movie or the next Avenger movie or the next one, I do feel like it kind of stagnates you. Especially if they keep following the same formula. Like, you have to evolve it over time. Like, what I appreciated with... I didn't watch any of the Harry Potter movies, except maybe the first. But because I knew people who loved it, I saw that the books and the movies grew up with the children.
Mhm.
Imagine if the seventh book was the same as the first book. It wouldn't work that way. And I feel like a lot of these like reboots and remakes, they aren't taking it to the next stage. They're just rebranding it,
Oh yeah.
which
But
is
that's-
like no, we already saw that part.
It's not about telling a new story. It's about making a new paycheck.
Exactly. Like, when you're driven by money, you're going to fail and make some dumb shit. And you can't put a price on passion. And I think that's where a lot of artists struggle. Well, let me finish. Let me finish. You can't put a dollar amount on passion. You can put a price on it, but a dollar amount? And I think a lot of
I
artists
don't even know if
struggle.
I disagree, I just wanted to make the noise.
But I love that. I love the noise because the noise means like I hit a nerve or I hit something that's like, ooh, but
The check in here, whatever.
Yeah. because I think
Make sure I'm not zoning out or something. I'm just saying, absolutely, I absolutely support that idea.
But I think there are ways to access, because they make us live in the world of dollar amounts. I'm like, all right, sure. So let me access what that means and apply it to a thing where I don't think you can put a dollar amount on, but because they're making us do this, I'm going to find the middle ground so I could comfortably express myself with my art, but also know what I think it's worth to someone who loves it. Like this whole, all my paintings need to be thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, how about, what if I did 20 paintings for $100? Like that's like this. Like people are always trying to emulate what someone else's success looks like and tries to make it fit to theirs, and it just doesn't work that way. Like you have to tailor fit what that means to you if you're trying to commodify your passions. Like a painting, I did a painting for someone in 10 hours, and it was an exercise for me.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, I would have sold it for like, I don't know, $500. But people are like, oh, this should be thousands. Like, why? I could make thousands of these. I don't need hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah,
What do I need that for? You know how easy it is to make money, but you know how hard it is how many years it takes to do this? And to make, like, this thing I see in my brain that no one else has ever seen. Let me just express it. Cool, how much does it cost? What? $1.
Yeah.
$20. Who gives a fuck?
And who creates that sense of value of what
Right.
it's going to be worth? Usually the buyer. That's who makes something
So,
collectible
yeah.
or a limited number of things.
And who is the buyer?
Who's the buyer? And what can they afford?
Right.
So some people only want it because it will cost a lot, because it makes them feel exclusive.
Clout.
I'm one of the few who could buy it.
Right.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And I've been constructing what I want my art life to look like. 'Cause I moved here specifically to be an artist, and
You moved from where again?
Los Angeles.
Cool.
God. To come here because Chicago had everything
Such a
I've
change.
ever dreamed about. Such a change. 5 years next month when I moved here. And what really brought me here was the weather and the architecture, and there's an art community and just people being more genuine and kind from where I came from. And you know, when I show people a lot of my work, because what I have online is just a fraction, it's just what I felt like putting out. When I show people what I actually do, they're always like, how come you're not famous? How come you don't have thousands and thousands of followers? Like, because I don't want that shit.
You need to, yeah. I mean,
I come from
if
the
you-
land of that.
If you want that, you have to be absolutely driven by it.
Yeah, if I
By the
wanted
pur-
it, I
by
would
the
have had it by
pursuit
now.
of it, yeah.
Yeah, and I had someone recently kept offering, hey, do you need help selling your art? Like, no. I've been selling my art since I was 16. I don't, but thank you for wanting to help me. But I know how to do this. I'm just not doing it driven by how much my art's going to cost. Like the art I make for myself at home, that's how I feel. I'm expressing myself. You can't, I'm expressing myself for $1,000 today. If you did that, then my art would be priceless. It's dumb. But I'm thinking right now, like we're all on this shift where people realize how creative they are and who we really are as human beings and what our bodies need. Like we need to know how to make food from scratch, art from scratch. We need to know how to create.
Society keeps trying to get rid of us, though.
Capitalism, bitch! Like,
well, the AI generator of images and things.
I kind of love that because it's all they can.
It's
all
fine.
all it can do is
It's
make
just-
the past.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's just, it's more evidence of trying to get rid of people who are imaginative and
Of
different.
course.
It's like I'm being paranoid and I'm going really far out with that statement. I don't even believe, but I think there's a grain of truth there that I could scale back.
Oh yeah, no, I do
And
the same
think
thing.
I think that it's like it is evidence of that, of like disdain for artists by, I don't know who, tech culture or something, or what is that?
People who don't know what art is.
Yeah, people who don't have the freedom to do it.
Well, yeah.
Creating a way to dispatch of artists.
Well, there are people who want to create lightning in a bottle, or they want it in a push button format.
Yeah.
Like in the 70s, I remember seeing an interview with George Clinton. He said the industry would hook you up to this machine, kind of like a lie detector, because they wanted to read your bio. And it played certain songs. They were looking for what is it that make people get the goosebumps.
Yeah.
They wanted to tap into that and just formulate it so they could just crank out hit songs that had that effect and people buy it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care about the people who are moved in a good way from when they hear certain songs. You know, they just want to make the money from
Yeah.
millions of copies sold.
I mean, that's what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love with that, let them do it because when shit hits that's authentic, you can't buy authenticity. You could buy someone making a record or a painting, but that soul of that a person is making, you can't buy it. It's not a thing that you can contain. And I feel like what's going on right now it's always this endless battle of nature and the opposite of nature.
Um,
The forces, I don't know how to describe. Because it's always been that way since the dawn of civilization. There's innovation that helps us evolve as humans and elevate and become this, but then there's people who like, I just want the wealth that comes from that instead of, I want the wealth of like the spirit of it. They want the financial wealth, which is like, well, you can't take it with you when you die, so I'd rather get the other kind of wealth. And when something's like made authentically, it's basically like telling the truth. You can't put a price on the truth, or you can't sell it. But if someone's speaking the truth, you know what it sounds like, and you hear it. So yes, it sounds like this. Looks like this. That's why I dress like this. This is reality. Like, this is the truth. This is some real shit. I give a fuck when I scare my Uber drivers. And I'm fucking inside there, and they're all like, what the hell is that? Like, this is the truth, motherfucker. We weren't ready for it. That's what it looks like. But the whole thing, like, whenever I see technology get to the next step, my first thought is always, how are they going to use this against us? And when I saw the AI thing, my first thought, this was years ago when they first started, like maybe 2014, when it debuted in some ways, my first thought was, oh, they're going to try to have AI make art. But that thing is only referencing what humans made. Or they're referencing something that's already been made. Hey, AI,
that's all humans do, too.
Make something I've never seen before.
That doesn't exist.
Random.
What are they going to make?
Random ink blots.
Random.
Yes. For lots of money.
Yeah. And when something's like inauthentic, like it's a machine, you can just unplug it. The only way you can unplug a human is killing them. And that's what they're trying to do too. But
well, you can pacify them too.
Yeah,
right.
Dumb them down.
But if someone's dumbed down, they can. There's always potential to wake them up, or to be like, hey, by the way, you've been dumbed down, bitch. And you can't always tell them because people don't listen. You have to show them by either your own behavior or you make something. Like, I've seen people who are considered awful humans. Maybe they're racist or sexist or something is, and they see a painting and it changes their lives. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't just say, hey, this painting's going to change your life. Like, no, they see something and they go, oh, fuck. The world is different now. And that's why we have to just keep making this shit. Like, good luck doing that, AI. Maybe you can in 20 years or who knows. But
that's why blues is so popular, because everybody can relate to that.
Come on.
That subject matter. Yeah, you know, some spurts of happiness, but if you look back, you can remember the ugly stuff much easier, much more detailed.
Yeah.
And when you express that in the art or in the music, people can relate to that more so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love when singers they're facially expressive. I think this has always been a thing, but I think it just feels more prominent because we have so much access to all this information. People try to look too pretty or look too composed. And if you're singing your ass off, this isn't...
Yeah.
You're emoting, you're like a goblin sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think people maybe haven't seen that type of performance in a while, or seen that type of authenticity with someone just releases in front of them.
Guitar face.
Yeah. Oh my god, holding a wet slug. And when someone makes wet slug face, they are crushing it. Even if you're painting, if you're doing something and you're making that wet slug face, you're making magic.
Wet slug face.
Oh, like you're holding a slug. Like, someone did a bunch of Photoshop images of rock and roll stars. Instead of the guitar, you could put a slug. Because they're all making the ew, like, oh, wet slug face.
I've never seen that. That's funny.
Oh, it's so funny. But I'll be at home painting or doing whatever expressive thing I'm doing, right? And I can feel my face emote, my whole body emotes with what I do, and we all used to be that way as children. Like, you would laugh uncontrollably, cry uncontrollably, do all the things you did without this control. And when you see an adult do that, it's either, this is really great, or, oh, this person's fucked up. But what if it's both?
But you know, that came when videos started to really get popular. Now, you wanted something that just looked pretty and marketable. everything had to be a sex symbol
Yeah.
or something of that nature. There was no more fat people in front of a camera
Yeah.
who really had the talent. You saw that like CNC Music Factory when they had the big hit. They had the disco diva sing the song, but they had the skinny model
Yeah.
lip syncing for the video.
What?
That's fucked up.
That's where it
Oh,
started.
shit.
Yeah, that's where it started. Like all those women making that sound in the 90s, like that specific wailing sound. And you
That
don't
was
even know
the
what she looks like.
resurgence of those women who were probably gospel singers in their childhood, and then the 70s came around. They got a job as a disco singer, something like that.
Yeah.
But that voice was so powerful. The voice punched through into the next generation and next genre, but the look didn't,
Mm-hmm.
because they were so concerned about marketing pretty people. Pretty, yeah. That was starting to tap into that MTV suburban crowd, and they couldn't handle looking at that.
No.
You know,
Gee, I wonder
if you
why.
grew up seeing that as your mother or grandmother or aunt or people like that, or your neighbor, that voice, you put that voice with that
Mhm.
person. So they want to just have a disconnect with that.
God. Luckily, it's coming right back. All the stuff we try to hide always comes back. Bigger and better, stronger.
You think so?
So rad.
So how do you two feel about taking a little break?
Yeah, eat some
No,
chocolate.
you're ready.
Yes,
Sure.
let's have some chocolate. Let's refill our wine.
This is really
And
nice.
let's just be stupid people for a minute.
Oh yeah.
I want to smoke 24/7.
All right, sounds good. Everybody out there, you can be
Early
stupid
on,
too.
and-
All right, we're back. This is us, and here we are, and here it goes. So during the break, we were talking about
So many things.
some nice things. Like there's this way that we're all connecting in this that is truly unique. I feel.
Feels
It's a nice.
synchronistic.
This is a nice room. This is a warm room, as what comedians say. I think that's going to be a fun sort of group of people to have on a show, or comedians.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
I'd
goodness.
like to start getting stand-ups on here, and I think that'll be fun.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see that.
Some of the situations I've seen in this line of work should be stand-up discussion. Could be, or if not movies, comedies. You have some
Tragedies.
characters in this line of work. A lot of nice people, the majority. But once in a while you get some people who are not in the right line of work for their personalities,
Yes.
work ethics, or what have you.
Mhm. Oh yeah, it's work ethic for sure.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's
I'm
a
always
big one.
shocked at work ethic.
Yeah. To be in a line of work where your job is to show up, take off your clothes in front of strangers, and pose, and do that in a professional way. It's,
Mhm.
a lot of times, a lot of people misunderstand what that entails.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you hear some funny stories a lot of times from people who, during their brief stint in this line of work,
Mm.
because as they tried it out, it did not work. It wasn't what they thought it would be. This is not the porn industry.
Right.
And
Right,
some
exactly.
people think it's kind of one and the same. It's not the stripper
Not even close.
industry. You know,
It's not.
Yeah, people can't
That is not-
differentiate
it's not
be
the
nude
same.
and sex.
and I
There's not
appreciate
even a scale. It's not the
No.
same thing at all.
No. I appreciate those two industries. I'm not a part of those, but some people can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
When I first got into this, like I was telling a few people what I was doing, and they kind of like distanced themselves from me, like as if, you know, you've become not only a porn star, but it's almost like they viewed it as you're like a gay for pay type of thing. Like it's something just like really nefarious about what you're doing, and or they think you're in this line of work and you're just having all this promiscuous sex.
You think you're a wild slut.
Wild slut.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish it did entail that, but it's not that, and I accept that.
Right.
Yeah,
Also,
there are
really,
no
really
sex
quick.
stories.
Of course.
Did you want to turn the camera so it's facing him instead of
Thanks
me?
for the
So it's
reminder.
like I
Thank you.
remember.
Thank
Don't want
you.
my
Oh, I
face
thought
on
you-
the
I forget
digital.
some things
It's okay.
very easily.
Thank you for bringing it up. I remembered it.
Hello.
You guys see this
Okay.
beautiful face too? Yeah, I feel I have the same thing about like nudity. I was always comfortable with it because like, oh, you're naked under your clothes. You're born naked. Nudity isn't sex. It's nudity. I did like art modeling. I also did some go-go dancing because I love to dance. But people go, oh, because you're sexy or because you're naked, you're a whore or you're a slut or you do bad things and therefore I will treat you like you do bad things instead of actually understanding like, no, I'm art. I'm a muse or I'm just utilizing my human body in a way that I feel free or expressive. And they go, no, you're a whore.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people can process you take off your clothes for sex, for money, but not you take off your clothes to be depicted in art.
So
In
Whitney,
a non-sexual
Whitney
way.
Masters was on the show. You know her?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was on an episode. We actually did the topless episode. It was fun. You'll have to see it. It airs tomorrow, September 12th.
Oh,
Nice.
we're looking for that.
But it was all for a joke to me. I mean, it was all for like a well, not so much a joke. I'm using the wrong word. It was all for like for a purpose.
Yeah.
There was an intention, and I'll never do it again. That was for that one episode.
I
like that.
Okay.
So
That's
that there's a purpose.
And Theo was there too, right?
Yes.
Ah, Theo's an angel.
So that was a fun episode, but there's someone who understands what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
How long have you been doing like modeling?
I've lost track, but I'll say a lot of months. A while.
A while.
But yeah. I couldn't even put an accurate number to it, so I just said a lot of months. But
Did it take you a while to cope with people perceiving you as that? Like, did this something
no,
you
I thought it was
struggled
kind of funny. It didn't bother
Yeah?
me,
Good.
but it was funny to me that unfortunately it bothered some of them.
Yeah. Right?
Most of it was positive response, positive reactions, but a few it's just a little bit out of their understanding. I think if I had done a stint of actual pornography, that probably would have been more acceptable to them because they could relate to that. They wouldn't be interested in doing it, but they could identify with that a little more. People are a little more introduced to pornography than they are art, nude art.
Isn't that
Yes.
funny?
Ironically, yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what they think about it, more people have seen pornography than they have seen nude art.
Yes.
Then sometimes you're hired to work with kids and teenagers and to do the same work, and some people squeamish about that, but it's the same thing. Kids are not as naive or dumb as adults want to label them or
Right.
think they are. They know the difference between art and pornography, and they can pull out their cell phones and show you examples of both. And they can definitely show you examples of pornography. They know.
Yeah. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember when the very first museum I went to was the Norton Simon Museum, and we had to get permission slips, and it explicitly was like there will be nudity because it will be children's first time seeing art in a museum. So we were like 6 or 7, and so many kids, not so many, several kids' parents pulled them out because they didn't want their children to see nude art. But it was stuff like there was a recreation of like The Thinker. And it was just like classic
Right. Of course
art
it was,
there. And that was actually the field trip that like ignited this thing in me and go, oh, I can do that. The thing I'm already doing at some point in my life, I can just have it be in a museum or a gallery. Like, that's inspiring. And people like ripping that away from children, or from like impressionable minds. Like, you can just, nudity isn't sex. It's the human form is art. You are art, and you can make art. And to be threatened because something's naked, like, you used to feed children from them titties. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, it was up in their face not that long ago. Why are you sexualizing it? Why are you planting that in their minds?
Even with breastfeeding in public, you have adults, they have issues with that.
It's so sad.
And that is the least sexual time to see breasts. Unless that's a specific fetish that individuals have, and I know that's not what I want to see.
Then we wouldn't have balloon stores in the balloon sections in the grocery stores either.
Oh, good point.
I mean, there all fetishes exist. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
I'm just picturing you putting balloons under your shirt and the tie part of the nipples.
Oh, I'm talking about the fetishes for like the balloon sitters.
Oh yeah,
the people who are balloon poppers.
Oh, I've seen those.
Oh
yeah.
My mind immediately.
I remember seeing those ads on Craigslist looking for people to sit on and pop balloons.
Amen. It's one way to make $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big movement.
And your clothes stay on if you want. It's all about the balloons.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
It is. But just equating nudity to sex makes no sense at all. Like, you're naked when you take a bath or a shower, or if they're gonna cut you up or something. Like, some people's minds just haven't developed out of that childish instead of childlike state of mind.
I mean, I don't think that apes understand the difference between pornography and art.
Apes are pornography and art at the same time.
That's why they don't
know.
So we're not, our brains might not recognize the difference at that level.
I don't think apes, do they even have pornography?
I have no idea.
No, they are.
Maybe a mirror. If you put a mirror in front of them, they like to masturbate a lot, don't they?
Well, they purposely moved bonobos out of zoos. The species most like us, they can't have in zoos because they're constantly having sex.
Yeah.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matriarch also. And
oh, that's the real reason.
Oh yeah, well that too. But it's a matriarchal society, and they're constantly having sex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, think about it.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what's going to happen if we elect
a
female president.
Don't show children that.
If we elect a female president, that's what will happen. Is that what you're suggesting?
I love those memes. I mean, hey, when I run for mayor. But and when you think about what sex really is, I love breaking things down to its simplest form in order to build up what I think what it could actually mean.
Yeah.
When you're having sex with somebody, like, you're holding each other, or at least you're touching another person.
Right.
And you can strip away every nuance around that and just break it down to it's two people touching each other. And let's build from there and what that means. And
just two people.
Well, I mean, at first.
Yeah.
Your first time doesn't have 5 people, and if it does, wow, you are brave.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
If your first time is like 5 people, like, damn, you're the GOAT. Wow. But at first, like, we can get it real simple. It's just about 2 people. Like, even when you're young and your first time, right? You're like, oh, I guess we're just supposed to do this. And
that's true. You do something different?
Yeah, I mean, no, later on, you involve more people.
That's where I stopped. That was enough for me.
But that's what I love with, like, the bonobos, or just when you see our counterparts who are so close to us, what they actually do, and what it means, what we actually do. Because we're just a bunch of fucking apes who had lost a bunch of hair and made technology kind of fuck things up. Like, if we bring ourselves back to our core, we just need to, like, mirror another person and touch them. And people who don't have that they become a bit, I guess for lack of a better term, like, a bit fractured, and they're always seeking this thing. That's why I love that song, like, Love is the Drug. Like, yeah, that's my drug. I am addicted to the feeling of love.
Love is a drug.
It's,
What's that song?
oh, Grace Jones did it. And I know a bunch of other people have done it, but I know Love is a Drug for me. You know that song?
Vaguely. I know who Grace Jones is, but what do you guys think the percentage of people who saw pornography before having sex for the first time?
A lot.
All.
I mean, because there was a
98.
time you went into an intimate situation knowing absolutely nothing,
Right.
both or having however many people involved, but knew nothing.
What if instead
Maybe you
of
saw
seeing-
what you saw animals on the farm doing if you lived on a farm,
Right.
but even if you lived away from that, you had probably no clue.
very little.
Very
Yeah.
little.
Well, I know some
Sure.
people who
Nice.
like walking on their parents, or they heard something.
Blue Lagoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blue Lagoon. You know, weird movie from the 70s. Like, oh.
hmm
But I feel like a lot of people have this awareness of the idea of sex, especially when you're younger and you're getting puberty and you're just like, all this stuff is happening. What is it? And you go, oh, then let me just poke someone's nipple and see what's happening. But I think there's this concept, because we all, I think, you know, as a species, we have this drive to have sex, to procreate, so that innate thing is there. So you have to discover what it is. And I think most people have an idea of what it is, but when you see something that's referencing it, it kind of sticks in your mind and go, well, maybe I should do it that way. And I think that's why a lot of guys are terrible at sex, because they try to emulate porn. It's like, no, those are professionals. They fuck a lot. You just started. Don't try to do that.
Not only that, they're acting.
Sorry, do what?
And they're acting.
They're performing,
And
yes.
I explain to young guys, don't try to emulate the male porn stars, because one, they are selected for a specific talent that they have, or specific specs that they have. And also, there's a lot of editing that you don't see. If I explain to them editing, you know, when you watch a movie and the car blows up, but then the guy's down the street with a little dirt on him, it's editing, you know. Same thing. It's tricks to the trade
Right.
for them.
It's curated to look this way.
Right.
For a specific person who knows what sex is. It's like a movie. Like
Exactly.
not everyone looks like Rambo, but you feel like Rambo.
Yeah.
Oh, those people who think they're Rambo.
Go on.
No, I don't think I'm Rambo.
Oh no, of
But
course you're not.
I get it. I think it's made to be viewed from the male perspective. So like sports, you can pretend you're that athlete or that porn star.
You embody that feeling it gives
You're
you.
walking in his shoes.
Yeah.
So for that to be marketable, there are some unsaid rules that those guys are to do and not to do, or to not do after certain things have been done, so that people can stay interested and not feel mentally violated because you saw this actor do something that you don't relate to, and you don't want to see that. You know,
Oh yeah.
you want to, like, in your head, put yourself in his shoes.
Oh yeah. God.
And you can see over the past few decades, depending on how much of a connoisseur a person is, the change in the approach of what's the regular porn. It used to be professionals, the whole camera crew. Now it's gotten to where it's a do-it-yourself at home production.
On your
Which
cell
is-
phone, yeah.
I was telling
Yeah,
my
even on
friends
your cell
about Deep Throat being in theaters, and I'm like, hey, did you know in New York it used to be in theaters? I'm like, yeah, that must have been a crazy time having to go to the movie theaters to watch porn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that stuff was ending as I was growing up, and the stories, and just, oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And if you were a little older, you would know how just the impression of those times were compared to now. There was no worry of things would kill you. You know, at best it'd take you out of commission for a couple of days or whatever, but you would be back in the mix in no time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For STIs, you mean?
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Right.
Just to give you an example, I had some old Playboy magazines from the 70s.
Mhm.
I mean, it's one thing to see the pictures, but the articles
The
were really
articles.
good. The comics were even well
Okay,
written.
so I had 8 brothers, and I always felt like the last brother, and I would just sneak and look through all their stuff. They had all like, the sexy boy things, but it was always the artwork I gravitated towards and all this stuff. Like, yeah, I've seen naked ladies. Come on, you can only see so much, but it was the artwork and all the thoughtful stuff put into it that really caught my attention.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of work went into the interviews and articles because they were very intellectual.
And it was
Even if it was
for a
about sex.
curated crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah, why is that? Why did they do that?
Well, I feel like what people lost when it comes to sexualizing the form, it used to be like this. How do you say, like a gentleman's club? Like, we get together and we read articles and we also see some naked ladies sometimes.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about some real shit, and it just so happens to be this beautiful person doing a thing.
Mhm.
Like, it was this lifestyle. Like, you smoke your cigar, you drink your brandy, you sit in your nice chair and talk about stuff, and you so happen to want to look at some titties sometimes because you are a man and this is what I've been like. And I actually was signed up for that. That actually inspired a lot of my art and the way I carry myself and the way I live in the world, was this idea of like opulence, but opulence with intellectual conversation with it. And I think the art of that has been lost throughout things becoming convenient. It's so easy to get a photo of beautiful naked women. They're everywhere. But how easy is it to write an article about some dope shit next to the photo of a beautiful naked lady?
Nobody does that.
that's what
We're going to do it
it's
now.
all
We're going to bring it back.
Let's do it immediately.
I'm working on bringing it
If
back.
you want some
So I'm
paper.
dressed like this.
about. Like, we had one comic I remember from that era, one of the magazines. This a father and son conversation. I guess this guy is a young guy, teenage or early 20s, and the father is saying, "You never had VD? Aren't you popular?" See, that wouldn't fly today. It's a different world. Like I said,
Mhm.
those weren't death sentences
Yeah.
like now. But just seeing how the industry has changed and how society has changed,
Mm-hmm.
and they influence each other
Yep.
a great deal, even for people who don't consider themselves participants. You're still impacted.
Absolutely. And those who aren't participants, especially if the thing that's being participated in isn't as bad as it seems. For instance, stuff like metal and certain music genres are scary. Like, if you're not a participant, you just have an idea of what you think is going on, and if it scares you, you have this fear around it, and then because you're so misinformed, you just double down on your fear, and all your fears just come out as if it's the truth, because that's just what you think, without actually trying to understand the thing you're criticizing, and you're just repeating this nonsense that isn't founded in anything besides fear, and then you create the culture that is countering something that actually either is really bad or not bad at all.
Mm.
And I think that's where a lot of we need to have more conversations and just to understand the nuance of a situation or people's perspectives on it, so we stop misunderstanding something that is harmless or isn't as severe as people think it is, such as what like Playboy and all that stuff used to be.
Mhm.
Because it is definitely a product of its time, and the times weren't perfect, but it made some shit that's still around. And if you take the things that work and go with it, you can get to create this awesome thing that keeps evolving. But people took the easiest part, which is seeing naked people, and just like, let's just do this.
Mhm.
Let's just get some naked people and watch them fuck. Like, yeah, but did you want to read an article about like cows after? Or read this very cleverly constructed one image comic that a person who spent their whole lives getting good at drawing did? Like, these comics that was just one image with one quote under there, that's like, this is so fucking clever and funny.
Mhm.
And I'm sure it's still out there in the world, but because you have to search for it, not everyone knows what it is. And everyone knows just the easy ones.
Mhm.
And the comics of like, hey, don't you hate it when your toast gets burnt? Oh my god, it's so relatable. Like,
Dilbert or something.
oh my god. I mean, I kind of love Dilbert, but that's like when I was a kid. Because, there's levels to everything, and what I was consuming when I was younger was like, yeah, this is the early level. There should be more. And when you find out there's no more, and people got stuck in this one spot, and they got stuck taking the easiest thing and going with it, and they're stuck because you can only do so much with checkers. You can only... What else can you do when you play checkers? Or, like, maybe three other games? But when you expand on that, then you have chess. And then you have the chess boards. That's 7 different chess boards.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you learn checkers first, then you do that. And I'm thinking right now, a lot of artists, and the way this is happening and we're here, is we know how to play chess, we know how to play checkers, and now we're trying to build a new game because our minds value and crave the structure of chess and checkers, but there's more to learn. And I love that I'm saying this about like Playboy and titties, because
I like that you're saying this.
That's all my inspiration. Like I had 8 brothers, and
Not about that. I'll continue. So I'm not saying.
Oh no, but I mean checkers and chess.
So I don't sound like I'm saying that.
No, it sounds like you're.
I like that you're talking about titties.
Oh no, but I am.
No, I'm talking about checkers and chess. That came up with earlier today in the last episode.
Oh yes.
We talked about checkers and chess.
I'm all about checkers and chess. I think we're all on this wavelength. Yeah. But I am speaking. I love what I do. I am speaking about titties with checkers and chess.
I'm all about it. Yeah.
Or just like things that are what the things that titties are attached to. And why we even value that in that way in the first place. Absolutely.
Got it.
They're attached to these people. But sometimes these people want to be like, hey, I have really nice tits right now. Do you want to look at them? Mm-hmm. But when you're done looking at them, let's read this article and look at this comic book and look at the rest of this thoughtfully crafted thing. And I think people are too busy going, yeah, but it's sexist. But it's this. But it's that. Like, okay, but... you're ignoring all the good parts. It's employing artists. It's employing beautiful people who do no fault of their own, who are just beautiful. Like, it's bringing together a community. And just because some dumb shit is happening because people don't understand it the right way, it's being bastardized and being misinterpreted for what its intent is, which is like, hey, gentlemen, just want to sit back and do a thing. And we can take that concept and update it. We can get rid of the sexism. We can get rid of the parts that were hurting people and going, you know what worked? Making people's bodies into art, adding articles that are meant for intelligent people to read, adding art that was made by an artisan, and smashing them all together, and we can continue to do that. But people just wanted to play checkers and just show some titties, and they fucked everything up.
And then, I think the attention span is shorter.
There should be an applause sound.
I hear
Do
it.
I have applause on me? I think I have applause. All right.
Society has a shorter attention span too.
Mm-hmm.
And before it can be blamed really on social media, it goes as far back as a microwave. Because before that, if you wanted to eat, food had to be prepared or cooked on the stove. There was a whole process to it versus is it 30 seconds, 1 minute, or 2 minutes, and now it's done. A complete instant meal. So that's what people have gotten used to. And that's when things started to change. Mm-hmm. Like in the early 90s, when KFC started to say, we're KFC instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Because too many syllables, and to just shorten it and to stop saying the word fried. And you would have a commercial that said we have chicken breasts that are 33% bigger. And as people ate it, they got 33% bigger. And that's when you start to see this whole change in the American physique overall. People, there were always people of different sizes, but you started to see people get significantly bigger at that time. And now,
in a particular way.
In a particular way, yeah.
Because you can tell a healthy fat versus an unhealthy fat. Because there have always been people of all sizes, like you said. But when you can tell when something is consumed in an unbalanced way because it reads off of their body. Like, oh, you're eating something that's fucked up. And even if people aren't bigger, their skin looks different. I'm obsessed with looking at people throughout time and seeing how we evolved. And there was this shift where it's like, oh, these people's bodies look different, and not just people getting bigger, but bodies in general are looking different. And this is one of the positive parts of just having lots of older friends and just being more attuned to like your elders, where you see what they looked like when they were younger, and you see the people at that age in front of you, the peers, everybody, like, oh, something's a little different. And it's the food we're consuming, it's the food we're being given, and what we're putting in our bodies. And if you're putting some instant shit in your body, you're going to instantly feel like a piece of shit.
It will. Yeah. And then if you look at movies and TV shows from, say, the 70s and 80s, people were like anorexic compared to petite people today. Mm-hmm. A character who's supposed to be an obese person is like a little under normal.
Yeah.
Like All in the Family, Meathead was supposed to be this obese guy.
Right. Oh my
God. And he's not.
Did you see Silence of the
Not
Lambs?
by today's standards.
That's not the same. Teeth and burp. Hold up, wine.
Silence of the Lambs.
Because Buffalo Bill was killing big ladies to make leather out of their bodies.
Oh, great big fat person.
That's my favorite quote from the whole movie. Was she a great big
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
But the woman he kidnapped was an average-sized woman, but at the time was considered a little big. Just his voice.
Are you about a size 14? What did he say?
What the fuck, man? I do that weekly. Also, as a little non sequitur, people don't know "Goodbye Horses" was sung by a black woman.
Right, yeah.
Sung by a black woman.
Yeah, I did a little research
Yeah.
recently to find that artist, and she's just like living in secrecy and doesn't want to be
Good
bothered.
for her.
She's like, yeah, I stopped doing music.
Yeah.
I have a different life now. It's not a big deal.
It's
Leave me
funny.
alone.
People think,
Don't track me down.
right, leave me
Yeah.
alone. I did this one thing and that's it.
Yeah.
And people think because you make art or release something that's creative, you must do it endlessly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, what if you have one song in you and that's all you wanted? That's
Right.
all you wanted to give out and the rest is yours.
Mhm.
Betty Davis was like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She was the pioneer of the raunchy female performer. And to the point, Kiss wanted to have her as an opening act. And when they went to see her show, it's like, no, you will upstage us. We can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And she did her stint briefly and just went into seclusion.
Perfect.
She just died in the past year or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
After all these years. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it when people are just like, I'm not trying to be famous. I'm expressing this part of myself that doesn't have to be expressed infinitely or until I die, especially in front of people and for money
Yeah.
and for being popular.
Betty Page was like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her story is really interesting.
Mm.
You know, she had a movie that played here at the Art Theater, and she wasn't shown on camera, but she just narrated the story. Good story.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things you just wouldn't have known.
She didn't want to destroy the image of her, right?
Yeah.
I think I remember hearing about that.
Mm.
She just wants you to remember her,
Yeah.
how she used to look back then.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe she started to have a few mental issues later in life too. You know, things were starting to kind of come undone.
Yeah.
But it was a good movie. Good story.
Oh, what's the movie?
Was it Betty Davis?
Oh, I
I'll have to
don't
look that
remember.
I
up.
don't remember specifically, but yeah,
Wait,
you can find
wait,
it now.
Betty Davis or
I'm
Betty
sorry,
Page?
Betty Page.
Okay.
What's in this word?
Betty Davis eyes, like spelled I-Z-E.
Yeah, because it's two Betty
I
Davis.
didn't metastasize, you know. But to be Betty Davis eyes.
Yeah,
Okay, doesn't matter.
that's
Yeah.
Rod
I don't
Stewart.
know where I'm going with that.
Is he talking about the singer or the actress? I forgot.
Which one?
Betty Davis Eyes, the song.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, he's the.
He's talking about the actress.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Her eyes.
Yeah.
But I'm pretending like he's saying a different word altogether.
Oh, I got you.
Because this is a joke for me. And
Oh.
me alone.
I love that. Dude, jokes for yourself Everywhere I go, because I love to
Jesus.
just roam all by myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just laugh my ass off because of the stuff I tell myself and the things I see. It's the best.
I don't mind jokes for me, by me, long as I'm in private to enjoy them. I don't want to entertain myself uncontrollably with those kind of jokes in public, like on the bus or train.
Or on a podcast.
Especially when I was younger, before Bluetooth and things that would give you an excuse. You used to see people and knew something wasn't right because they were walking down the street talking to themselves or something.
Why isn't that right?
Well, meaning, not necessarily right or wrong, but meaning these sometimes are people you need to like not engage in their conversation. They're not talking to you. They're talking to somebody on the other side.
Yes.
But now with an earpiece or something in their ear, now you know they're just using
you're always looking for that.
The first time I witnessed that, I was in high school on the bus, and I saw this guy dressed in a business suit going, "Mom, I got the interview, and it was really cute." And I'm like, "Is he talking to himself?" My friend goes, "No, look at his ear." I'm like, oh, what the hell?
Right.
Interesting. I love talking to myself out loud.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Laughing.
Hey, I do that.
Because I'll just remember a funny thing, and I cannot control it. I would just start laughing, and like, why not? Who gives a fuck?
Mm-hmm.
I want people to think I'm crazy. Like, when people think I'm crazy, or like underestimate me, or go, there's something wrong with her, I'm like, yes, please tell me that, because the more you say that, when you see what I am about to do or what I am doing, and if they, usually someone I know or know of me, they go, "Oh, that crazy bitch is successful. Oh yeah, that crazy bitch is doing something, or her paintings were this," or like, please call me crazy. It just means I see something you don't and have a relationship with it, and my life is a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Please call me crazy. It's fucking dope to be crazy. Where's the camera?
One of them is somewhere.
I feel like a news person.
I think that one's
Being called crazy and being underestimated, it gives me all of my powers. Please do it.
Because in that sense, who wants to be thought of as that same ordinary person?
Right.
Yeah.
And I talk about this a lot, and lately I've been getting lots of nuance and more texture about myself. I really was like speechless throughout my life, and because there weren't the words to express how I felt. So for a lot of people to see me as I am now, especially my family, they're like, "Jettila's doing that? Jetty's doing that? She was so quiet. She was so shy. She was so good. She was so this." I'm like, yeah, but if you actually ever talk to me, you would realize I've been this the whole time. I just haven't expressed it because no one was good enough for me to express it in front of. And now that I'm comfortable and understanding that I can't keep myself to myself all the time, if I suppress this, my body hurts and I go nuts, and it's like this uncontrollable chaos of showing people who you really are, because sometimes people don't know who they are until someone else shows them who they are. And you don't have to be so scared of what someone else thinks. Like, who is that other person? Like, I'll get a friend of mine telling me he's up in his feels and has anxiety because a girl who rejected him is there. I'm like, who the fuck is she? So what?
Some guys get upset about that, but they don't understand that sometimes that person is doing you a favor.
Right.
You're just looking at, I want her, and my ego is crushed because she's not on the same page. But sometimes she's doing you a favor because she knows she's not right for you. She's on something that you need to not be involved with.
Exactly.
She don't need to tell you all the details, but just make you understand there's nothing jumping off here.
Yeah.
Keep it moving.
And your attraction to whatever person, he, she, or they, it could just be you being attracted to the idea you constructed of them, which is not them. And when they're not the idea that you constructed and they are their own thing, people either go, "I was wrong," or they try to convince that person, "You are this thing in my mind. Why aren't you this thing?"
Right.
Like, no, bitch, I'm my own. Go. I'm telling you, I'm not good for you. And you should be good for yourself first, and then you'll find the person that is right. Because a lot of people don't know who they are, so they project on others of this ideal of what they want. And when they don't get it, they just spiral instead of being like, well, she's not right for me for a reason. What must it be? Not that you're not good enough. It's just you're not right for each other.
Right.
And when you're with enough wrong people, you should find out, like, okay, I've been doing this and failing. What is it? It's not me. It's not them. It's just I need to find out more of who I am. And people don't want to fucking do that, but they're learning.
Some guys, they just really lose it and just get belligerent, ready to argue, ready to
Possessive.
fight, ready to jump on it. And now, after they've done all of that and caused such a scene, like on a bus or train or something, or nightclub, now she sees why she wasn't interested.
Right.
Well, now at least she sees a new reason.
She goes, ooh, dodge that.
Because she didn't want him contaminated with her issues or whatever going on in her world. Now she's like, oh, I don't want nothing going on in his because he's not right in the head.
Exactly. And like,
Can't take no for answer.
For real.
You can't do that in a job interview.
You shouldn't be doing that to anyone except the mirror when you're trying to outgrow that bullshit. And some people think that someone must be at the receiving end of their own damage. So they project it onto others instead of looking in and going, why am I even doing this? I recently threw a tiny tantrum alone, and I don't think I've ever thrown a tantrum like that before, and I caught myself like, why did I even do that? I'm glad no one was around to see it, but I need to assess why I felt compelled to express myself in the way that I feel a child would. And thankfully it was like 3 hours in my house at like 12 or 1 in the morning because I didn't get a thing I wanted, and I'm so glad I didn't get it because I needed to be more level-headed. It's like, bitch, you're too old to be throwing tantrums. Get your fucking self together and don't project that onto somebody. But that takes self-awareness and knowing the space you occupy, and some people just they haven't gotten there yet.
Or sometimes they get lost.
Exactly.
They've gotten there before, but they
they
have
must
to find their way back or something.
Yeah, you always have to. I think it's important for people, and this can relate to everybody, to realize you are fine. You have always gotten yourself to where you're at now. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You've already gone through the hardest thing you've gone through, and you came out. You must have been covered in scars, but you're still out. So when a dumb thing happens and you're upset and you're all throwing a tantrum and shit, just be like, wait, I've gone through the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I'm fine. I'm going to feel my feels, but I'm not going to blame someone else for my own shit. Because some people will project a thing onto you and you're like, that's the opposite of who I am. Have you not been paying attention to me? And in fact, they were not paying attention to you. They were paying attention to the idea they made up about you. And because you don't fit it, they're just like, what? What's going on? Ugh, these people, their projections.
So, somebody tells you they have a crush on you. Don't. Because they've already created a script.
Yes.
That's funny.
I've had so many people create scripts about me.
Don't.
Don't what?
Don't get involved with
Don't
those.
engage?
No.
Uh-oh.
Mm-mm. I always tell
you can
people.
be friend, but nothing.
If they tell you they've got a crush on you?
Oh, yeah. Beware of that.
Uh-oh.
I mean, if it's a new thing that just sort of popped up in them, you just met them kind of thing. But if it's been going on for a while, they had this in their head, they've played out a fairy tale of what they are expecting.
Yeah.
That's one of the things about social media that really made me sad. Because I was one of the first people, right? So deep. I love it. I was the first in my family to really understand technology and using the internet when it first came out and doing the pen pals and the ICQ and chats and shit. And what was so great about it was you weren't constantly seeing their face. It was just pure conversation. And when social media came along, I was so reluctant to do it because I didn't have awareness of how I looked or my facade. And when you begin to take pictures of yourself and put yourself out there, you don't realize how someone is constructing this idea about you, and they have these expectations of you, and you don't even know who they are. And when they meet you or they see you in person, when you don't fit this thing they made up, they fight you on who you are. and sometimes they fight you physically or mentally or whatever it is. And it's this awful way of having to navigate the world, especially as someone who is perceived to not have power, aka, marginalized people, women, black women. When you don't fit this fantasy, people want to hurt you, or they have this ownership of you that you weren't even aware of, and to have to navigate that. And that's part of so much of our common lives now because of social media. And, it's one of the reasons why I tell people to don't DM me, don't ask me to hang out, don't ask me to be your friend, because I am not the thing you created. All I like to do is sit down in my house and paint and keep to myself and talk about stuff that people are like, bitch, are you okay? I'm not. And I think it's similar to what you're talking about when you nude modeling, people expect you to be this and that. Like, people expect me to know where the party is, know where all the drugs are at, know where all this fun stuff is based on how I look, and not so much my practices or what I have to say. So I'm constantly battling this idea of, oh, I'm not this thing at all that you think I am. In fact, I am nowhere near it. And it shocks people and it makes them angry. And recently someone told me, Jetty, you always surprise me. I'm like, I always surprise myself. Shouldn't y'all be doing that too? Like, shouldn't you be? I forgot how we got here.
Well, yeah, the misconception of what people expect you to be or have the resources for, like drugs or the party scene.
Mm-hmm.
No.
In LA, when I was go-go dancing, and I was go-go dancing for the pure joy of dancing. Like, I would go to this club and dance, and they asked me, I'm like, of course. And then fast forward a couple years, people were asking me where they can find cocaine and where they can find all this stuff. I'm like, I don't do any of that. Or hey, where's the after party? Where's all the wild stuff? I'm like, you're asking the wrong person. I just want to dance. So having to constantly deconstruct these ideas people build on you because of people aren't interacting with each other in person as much as they should be. And it's good to have the balance of social media and human interaction, because if you have just one, you're missing this whole other world. And that's one of the things I really do love about social media. You get an insight onto a person, well, depending on who you're following, but you get more insights on things you don't normally catch in conversations. But then when you have conversations, you catch things you wouldn't normally have when you're just seeing a photo of somebody. So just trying to marry all of these new things with the old and going, you can get them both. It's like a zipper. You have to zip them up and put them both together. God, it's a lot of work.
All right, everybody.
Oh, you finished?
Yeah, I can call this finished.
Oh, ready to sign it, huh?
I'm excited.
I mean, I can keep working
Did
on it.
you capture any of the
then
ghosts sitting behind me?
Any ghosts? Kinda.
They like to sit behind me.
All right.
I just meant to mention earlier, you're wearing this that says the Fool. What made you pick that?
Well, it's a bit of a story. I'll try to give the short
We'll
version.
do that.
Oh, yeah.
While you tell us.
So I always had a passing interest in tarot and all that stuff, because I'm like, oh, cool. And I realized this recently, about a year before I decided to move here, I kept seeing the Fool randomly everywhere. Outside of my friend's house, there's a Fool sticker on a pole. This new song I loved mentioned the Fool on the hill. I kept hearing and seeing the Fool. And before I knew what it was, I thought the world was telling me I was foolish for making all my decisions or the life I was leading, because I was so lost. And so I always rejected the idea of what the Fool was, because, when someone calls you a fool, it's like an insult. When I moved out here and I actually began to study tarot out of curiosity as a tool to study, to further understand human behavior, because there's so many tools. The Fool is the first card of the person starting out their journey, and you are a novice at this new thing, but it's the new thing. And once I realized that's what it meant, I truly embody the Fool of always being a student of something and not thinking I know everything. but I know what I know, and I know what my experiences are, but I'm always open to new experiences. And I like to wear, whenever I wear jewelry, I like to tell myself a story to what I'm embodying for today. And the Fool is me going, I'm doing this new thing with this person I never met, with someone I know, and we're all just doing this new thing together as students, as novices, and maybe this will lead to something expanding that in the future. Mm-hmm. So I'm very intentional every single day. Where's the camera? Every day,
this one.
Camera, I am intentional with everything I wear and how I show myself to people, because people will always try to tell you who you are and try to interpret you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm just showing you, interpret it as you want. I know what it means. It means I'm the baddest bitch in Chicago. Okay.
Okay. Well, the fool is usually the one who knows everything, and most people don't know the fool knows it. That's why I ask.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
And going back to the people going, oh, you were right. Like, I thank you for saying that, but I'm tired of hearing people go, oh, you're right in hindsight. Like, and it's always the same people and it's the same lessons, and it's like, well, if you listen and implement the knowledge, you don't have to agree with me, but just go, hey, Jetty said something about this. I'm going to do it my way, but I remember her saying a thing about this. Like the fool knows what they know through experience, but there's always more things to know. And it also goes hand in hand with the thing we talked about, aging. How getting older is so fucking cool, because you get to learn, you get to outgrow the old parts of yourself that were insecure or ignorant or just didn't know any better. And to know better about something you didn't know about, and then learn something new, and then later on know better, you keep on doing that. And that's what aging is. And people think aging is just, oh, you get wrinkles and your dick doesn't work anymore and you're sad. Like, no. Aging is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to constantly know some shit because you've been through it. And people want to stay in their 20s. Like, your 20s, your dick doesn't work all the way yet.
Yeah, the 20s is a blur of teenage and young adulthood. It's not a cutoff like 18 or 21.
I tell people your 20s are puberty part 2. Your 30s is where you begin to build your foundation, or you're building on the foundation you made in your 20s, whether or not it's bullshit, because we still have wiggle room. And I truly believe that if you don't know who you are in your 40s, you better start learning, or you're never going to find out, or it's going to get harder and harder. Because when you don't keep your mind sharp, and we don't keep learning and having your imagination with you, it's why people are struggling with their parents right now. They can't understand, Mom and Dad, why are you still racist? Oh, maybe it's because we grew up in a racist world, but it was okay. And all of a sudden, you're being told a thing you knew your whole life is wrong. You're going to give them some grace to go, oh shit, I was told the wrong thing my whole life. I have to readjust. And stop fucking fighting your parents for being ignorant. You're supposed to show them that they were good parents by being like, hey parents, y'all did some fucked up shit, but I'm a little bit better for it. You fucked up so I didn't have to. You practiced racism so I didn't have to. Y'all were all sexist and fucked up so I don't have to. God, be nice to your fucking parents, even the shitty ones.
Yeah. This
I
is a
can't
new era
stop.
of information being so accessible.
Yeah.
With history and even current events, like in real time. And you, like you said, you start realizing a lot of things you were taught was just backwards.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, you can totally talk to somebody who has a totally different walk of life,
Mm-hmm.
you know, through the internet and all that. And you can see things that you wouldn't see otherwise.
Exactly.
All right,
And
I'm
him
going
to
to
get
stop
praise.
working on this painting. I love our conversation.
I do too.
We don't have to stop
I'm
talking.
so fired up.
You guys don't have to leave when we stop filming even.
Perfect.
Okay. But I do want to close it up so that we're closer to 2 hours than
Has it been 2
Yeah.
hours?
probably. I haven't kept close track, but we're pretty close there. I'm sure it's a few minutes over. So here is where I press this button, and then you can come over here where I'm standing, and you can look at the painting, and then I can sit where you're sitting.
Oh.
And then we can all enjoy each other's things. Alright.
Oh my god! This is so lovely.
This was a fun one, very bright,
It looks like my grandma.
energetic,
The
colorful.
rays coming out and
Yeah.
words coming out.
Mm.
Yeah, like you're speaking flowers.
Hmm.
You're a flower. Aren't we all?
In some ways.
Dude, this is impressive.
Yeah, I like that.
Wow. See,
I
what
approach
love-
this one differently than the previous ones. I'm changing the way I approach them each time. It's
What do you do
fun.
different?
I just started with silhouettes instead of with structural anatomy kind of, or with gestural kind of curves. I'm changing. I'm just playing every time.
I recently began to do that, to do this, because I know how to
Okay.
paint already, and I need to convince myself, like, you know this stuff, stop acting like you don't. Do the silhouette first, and then get the general blob. It's so cool, dude.
Just playing each time, approaching it differently every painting.
It's so vibrant. And the textures.
I got some new colors. I'm using Gamblin. I guess I'm a risk taker.
I can tell.
But I think they're right there, those large tubes, brilliant yellow, or I forget what it's called, radiant yellow. They've got these different radiant colors that are really nice. I've been using nickel titanium yellow because I'm able to really control the vibrancy of the yellow. And then I tint it a bit, so I add some white to it so that it's less powerful. And then I don't use the pure yellow very often. But this isn't a show about painting, so let's not talk about that.
I
Cool.
just feel like I'm time traveling all week.
Yeah?
Yes, this reminds me of the kind of paintings my grandma had in her house. And recently, my brother remarked on how I remind him of grandma. And I've been hobbled all weekend like a grandma, so I'm having lots of grandma energy right now, and this is so sweet.
I don't think I've met your brother.
No, he's a force. He was here last summer. He says he might come back. I don't know. It's like he's like the wind.
Sure.
The next time he's in town, I would like for him to meet my artist friends.
Sure.
So he can scare everybody. Last time he was here, someone's like, "What was that?" when he left the room. Like, "Oh, that's his Henry."
Funny.
What part of California are you from?
Pasadena.
Okay.
And I lived in downtown LA for 5 years, sort of, before I came here. And he moved to San Francisco for 17 years, and I was
Cool.
going back.
I love San Francisco.
It's so lovely.
I went to San Francisco right as the pandemic was hitting San Francisco. So it was kind of like a ghost town, and I had just, when I got back here, that was when it officially hit San Francisco. And it was kind of like being on a plane September 10th, leaving New York.
Oh, man.
Kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Because nobody knew what was this new thing coming, and being old enough to remember when AIDS was this new thing coming, and how people weren't sure, and how do you get it, and who get it, and all the finger pointing, oh, it's those people, and that kind of thing. That's why I said it's kind of like history repeating itself. Not as bad, but
The good and the bad.
it's like a similar, it's a parallel approach, you know.
It's
People
like
act
the
ugly
calm.
towards a certain group of people. Oh, it's you people created it. No, it's not those people. It's the government created these things, you know.
I
Well,
think you've seen it more
on that
each
note-
time.
I didn't know if I
On
really
that
wanted to
note,
go into that on.
Don't trust your government, people.
Yeah.
Don't.
Trust your government. Don't trust your people. 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 Don't trust your people.